ever felt like your looks define you? Like, if you don't look good enough, you're not good enough, or that your value depends on how attractive you are? I used to feel this way too. I was trapped in this objectification loop where I would objectify myself, and in turn, I would objectify other people. So, men and other women. But what if I told you that it's not just about looks? It's actually deeper than that. It's a symptom of a wounded inner child and a form of codependency where we tie our self worth to our appearance. Today, we're breaking it all down. How childhood wounds lead to objectification, how you can become codependent on your looks, most importantly, how to break free from this cycle so you can start seeing others and yourself in a more whole and meaningful way. If you grew up feeling like your love, acceptance, or safety depended upon how you look, maybe because of compliments or comparison or pressure to always appear perfect, you learn to identify with your appearance rather than your true self. Maybe as a child you were praised only when you looked good and ignored when you didn't, compared to others, siblings, classmates, friends. I know, especially in Asian culture, it's a thing where parents are constantly comparing you to other children. Maybe it's a thing for all cultures. Maybe you were made to believe that beauty equals love and validation. And when this starts happening, you begin to believe if I look good, I'm valuable. If I'm attractive, I'm worthy of love. If I don't look a certain way, I'll be rejected. And the last thing we want is to be rejected. This is exactly where the objectification cycle begins. But what does objectification really mean? I love defining things because I feel like it gets into the nitty-gritty of what we're trying to explain. Objectification happens when you stop seeing others as full, complex human beings. Instead, you reduce them to their physical appearance or what they can offer you. When you objectify yourself, you become hyper-focused on how you look rather than who you are. This means that because you're objectifying yourself, now you've gone into a habit of seeing yourself in a particular way through a particular perspective. And this is the perspective that you will begin to see others through. You will begin to objectify others and base their value upon their appearance or what they can do for you. Which means that you only see them in terms of their attraction, their status, or their desirability. This leads to shallow relationships because instead of connecting from the heart, you're connecting from ego and insecurity. Now let's get even deeper because for many of us, it's not just insecurity. It is a codependency. Codependency is a loss of identity. It's where your authentic self wasn't validated when you were younger. It wasn't affirmed by your caretakers and your parents, which means that you don't know who you are. So you're like, oh, okay, like me looking a certain way is my identity. But the thing is, it's not always with your looks. It can be anything. It could be money, it could be status, it could be material possessions, it could be whether you're in a partnership or not. With codependency, what happens is you become dependent upon something outside of you, something external outside of you for your identity, which is really dangerous. This means when it comes to appearance, when someone comes at you and maybe says that you're not good looking or says something about your appearance, it will literally break you. Your whole world will fall apart because your identity is built on the soft rocks of appearance. When someone is codependent in relationships, they base their self-worth upon how much someone loves them. When you're codependent on your looks, you base your self-worth upon how attractive you are. You'll feel anxious when you feel like you don't look good enough. And what will happen is you'll naturally lead with your looks. Everything becomes so incredibly shallow. You begin to forget that there's a whole complex human being, that your energy, your humor, your intelligence, your character, all of these things disappear. And the only thing you can ever see, and the thing that you can never see past, are your looks and how people receive them and validate them and affirm them. It's like being in a toxic relationship with your own reflection. And just like any other toxic relationship, it leads to obsession, control, and never ever feeling good enough. Like this will never ever be satiated in you, no matter how many times people tell you you're good looking, because you're so focused on it, it's just a black hole. All of the compliments you get, any validation you get will just disappear. When you identify so deeply with your looks, like I said before, you begin to see everybody through the same lens. You can't get away from it because the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. You'll begin to judge people based on their beauty, status, or how they rank rather than based on who they are. It creates a very dismissive perspective as if that's the only thing. It's almost like, you know how you have egocentrism where it's everything's about you. Well, it's kind of that sort of centricism. I guess you could call it look centricism or appearance centricism, where everything is just baseline looks, 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 looks. And the thing is, look, of course, it's your wounded inner child. You know, it didn't get kind of the right development that it needed. It wasn't taught the right things. But this is also further cemented by society and the pressure of on people based upon their looks, especially women. There's this certain model of beauty that we are given to us. And if we have a wounded inner child, we'll always be comparing ourselves to that model and then always deeming ourselves not good enough because you can never win. You'll always have shallow relationships. Like, you cannot get away from it. You can't look at yourself in that way and objectify yourself and expect to have deeper relationships because your awareness just doesn't go that far. It's kind of blocked. There's like a glass ceiling on how much you can get to know other people, because think about it, the way that you know yourself and how much you know yourself is the same amount that you know other people. So if I can only see how I look and that's the only thing I'm so hyper focused on, what do you think I'll be able to see others like? Just their looks. I'm not going to see their wit or their kindness, their generosity, their character, none of that. Nada. The way I realized that this was the thing, and the reason why I wanted to make this video, was because I was reading up upon wounded inner child, and I realized that codependency is not limited to other people. I used to think, oh, it's, codependency, I need other people, I feel responsible for other people. I was wrong. I learned that it was also to do with other things. For example, looks. And it reminded me, I used to be super insecure about my looks. I always used to compare myself to other women. And if I would go out and see someone more attractive than me, I would generally have a bad day. I hated shopping because I just hated how I looked in every single piece of clothing. There was just so much pressure that I would put on myself to look a certain way. And every little thing would remind me of the fact that I didn't look this way, this unattainable standard I had given myself. And I would be super depressed. Like, it was affecting everything in my life, the way I would eat, shopping, hanging out with other people, seeing other beautiful women. I would think that there was only one person that could be beautiful, or like it's always them and not me. And it was kind of like a very victim mentality. But that's what happens when you have a wounded inner child. You just haven't learned how to life. You haven't learned how to navigate yourself through life and what really is true and what isn't true and what's important and what isn't important. So I would be hyper focused. And I realized this because I was like, whoa, okay. I've been objectifying myself for a long time because all I used to think was, oh, looks, 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 looks. I need validation from people when I go outside. Only if people were looking at me, especially men, the male gaze, only then would I feel valuable and worthy. And I know this is the case for a lot of women because this is unfortunately just the way that things are. But look, we can change this. The biggest shock of the whole thing was not the fact that I was just objectifying myself. It was the fact that if I'm objectifying myself, I'm objectifying everybody. And here you are, Priya, sitting there thinking you only ever have shallow relationships and there's no depth and emotional intimacy to your relationships. Because I'm a Scorpio, okay? We like to go deep, and I'm a projector, so we love depth. And this was kind of clashing with the objectification because I would only invite people who looked a certain way, and everything would become about that, I guess. It just was because that was just the way that I was looking at life. So I wasn't having the depth in relationships that I really wanted. Like, Priya, you want deep relationships. Yeah, the way you look at people, you objectify them. I wasn't just objectifying men, I was objectifying women also, other women. I could never see past their looks. And it's really sad because, I always treasured having friendships, like emotional bonds within a relationship. And I couldn't ever get that because I just couldn't get past it. And my mind, a part of my mind knew that your looks are the least interesting thing about you. Like, I'm a smart girl, like it's not like I don't understand it from a logical point of view, but it was my inner wounded child that just couldn't see past it. So you can understand something consciously, but it's about whether you embody it and where you're functioning from. When you have these deep wounds, you can't help it. It's automatic. You will, of course, function from that. You will act out from that. That's why sometimes you have these moments where you act out irrationally and you say, whoa, who was that? Where did that come from? That wasn't me. That was kind of, I kind of blacked out and things just happened. Well, that's what it is. It's coming from your subconscious, from your inner wounded child. And it's important to heal that. The more that I have learned about my inner child and healing her and communicating with her and really sitting with her, I realized how much pain she was in, how much grief she had, how self-critical she was, and how she compared herself to other people. But now that I have integrated her within me and she is with me every single day, I can't look at her and be like, oh my God, you're ugly, you're fat, you're like this, you're like this, because that's a child that I'm speaking to. That's my inner child that I'd be speaking to, saying those things. And you would never, ever say that to a child. So why would you say that to your inner child? In the moment that I realized that I was objectifying men, the way I saw men was completely different. Now I can understand and make space in my mind and in my life that men have depth. I used to think that men don't have depth and that men don't give me what I need in a relationship. I need more, I need more, and I need more emotional intimacy. But that was just a reflection of me. How could they give me anything that I don't already have? They can't. So I had to find that within myself and stop objectifying myself so that I can begin to appreciate other people. So I can begin to see other people as whole beings. I understand now that it's not about what I wear, about how I have my nails done, what jewelry I'm wearing, the clothes I'm wearing, the makeup I'm wearing. It's none of that. It's my energy. And the thing that I focus on now, it's focusing all of my energy within me. When you objectify yourself, the perspective you have is from outside looking in, but we want to be from the inside looking out. I want to be in my being. My awareness needs to be in my being. But if I'm objectifying myself, I'm constantly in other people's brains thinking, oh my God, they're thinking this, they're thinking this, they're thinking this, they're thinking this, rather than thinking, no, this is me. This is where my energy is. When you bring your energy back into your own being, when you can be in here, then everything changes. Then it's my energy is palpable. That's the type of energy you want. You don't want to just be like, oh yeah, look, she's pretty, validation. No, B. If I enter a building, you're gonna know I'm there before you even see me. That's the power of having your energy and your awareness within you and holding yourself in that higher regard, because you are more than your looks. I know I'll be shouting it from the rooftop, okay? You're more than your looks, you are more than your looks. You have so much to you, and it's so minimizing to minimize ourselves to just how we look. It's like the whole thing of like, don't judge a book by its cover. So how do you break free from this cycle? How do you stop objectifying yourself and others and start seeing yourself as the worthy, whole human being you are? The things that helped me were shifting my identity, understanding who I am, right? You can write this down. Who are you? And write things that aren't to do with your looks. Not I'm beautiful, I'm slim, I'm sexy, because I remembered I used to do this, right? I would have affirmations of like, I'm sexy, I'm slim, I'm like this, I'm like this. Then I realized and caught myself like, whoa, why do these all have to be, you know, appearance centric? Why can't they be energy centric or something else about my character, my values, my humor, my intelligence, my width, my depth, my emotionality, my sensitivity? There are so many things there other than just how I look. So shifting that will make a huge difference. Understanding that you're more than your looks. Mind, your heart, your soul are truly what define you. Start exploring who you are beyond your reflection. Begin to detach your worth from external validation. Worth isn't determined by the amount of Instagram likes you get, by the amount of men that stare at you or women that stare at you, or the compliments that you get. None of that. Objectification isn't fun for me or other people. Like, it's not fun to do it to yourself or to other people. You miss out so much on life. Life has so much depth. Why am I going to swim in the shallow waters when I can be deep diving in the deep sea and seeing everything and feeling everything more than just, oh, this is what the sea looks like? Looking at others differently. This is a point that I've just kind of touched upon, but you really see people, you see their little quirks. And I started doing this thing where I look at everybody and I just think, whoa, you're beautiful. I watched this video once, it was on YouTube, and there was this person who was complimenting these random people on the street and saying you're beautiful to them all. And the way that these people lit up, and when they were told they were beautiful, you could see beauty within them. And it was every single person, no matter how they look like. And I thought, whoa, everybody is beautiful. If everybody felt beautiful, and beautiful doesn't have to be, oh, you look this way, you look this way. Beauty is just something you feel within. It's harmony. It's feeling good about yourself. It's acceptance. When you can do that, you truly are beautiful. Confidence doesn't come from how you look, it's your energy. And when you have that, I accept myself energy, that's beauty. You can begin to focus on people's energy, people's depth, people's character. Almost like if you continue to objectify people, all you'll do is see books, right? You'll see the cover of books and be like, nah, nah, yes, nah. But it's never actually reading the book. And the most joy comes from reading the book. You'll begin to read your own book. And then you'll begin to see other people and read their book and get to know them and understand them and listen to them and see them. And that's where true joy comes from. That's where connection comes from. That's what we want. We want to be understood. We want to connect with people. Inner child healing obviously helped so much with this. So you can do inner child healing meditations. I will link some that have been super helpful for me. I've also made a free guide asking certain questions in certain areas of your life to do with inner child healing that you can kind of go through. One of the questions that you can ask yourself right now is, when did I first learn that my looks define me? Healing those wounds will shift how you see yourself. You will no longer say the things you did, because that inner child is within you, and there's no way you're talking to her like that. I have this picture of me, so I'll show you this. This is a picture of me, and I get to look at her every day. And when I look at her eyes, I just think, you look fierce. There's just something, I don't even know what to like. I don't know what to say, but it just gives me so much power when I look at her, and I think, this is me. This is who I am beyond, you know, the wounding, the insecurity. Like, she just looks like she knows the secrets of the universe. And I love her. With all of this, I'm not telling you to stop caring about your appearance. I'm just telling you to not let you define yourself through your appearance. Being confident isn't about being the most attractive person in the room. It's about being the most whole, secure, and confident person in the room. And that is magnetic. If this message resonated with you, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear about your opinions, about your stories. If you're ready to heal, grow, and step into your most radiant self, make sure to subscribe, because we're going to be deep diving into inner child healing so much more, because this is just a subject that is like a rabbit hole, and I'm obsessed, and I'm going to be taking down that rabbit hole with me as I learn and go through these experiences myself. You're not just your appearance. You are so much more. It's time to start living like that. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one.